Okay, we are now on Module 1, Lesson 3, and today we're going to talk about setting up equations using the equation mats. So we will be opening the CPM. If you haven't done so already, you might want to click on the A1.6. That will have you log into CPM. I usually actually exit the screen from there, and then I go back in and click the 1.6 again, because then it will take you directly to the actual book, which we're going to be working on in just a little bit. But before I do that, I actually am going to use the lesson tools here to teach the lesson. We'll look at a couple more, we'll explore a couple more examples, but this right here, these three are wonderful ways for you guys to practice the equation mats. So you'll notice the difference. We've had, in the last two lessons, we started with one where it was just one side of these that we were manipulating. Then we had where it was a which one is greater yesterday. So in yesterday's lesson, we had two separate ones, and it was which one of these is greater. The difference here is, if I zoom in so you can see it, we have this. It's almost like an equal sign separating them. And that's exactly what it is. We are actually going to set two sides equal to each other, and we're going to solve today. So that is the difference in the last couple of days. So I'm going to open this e-tool right here, and we're going to talk about how we can actually navigate using this. So this has popped open the exact same. I'm going to again drag this off so that we can see both the lesson and this side by side. You will notice, let me adjust my window just a little bit for you guys to be able to see everything. You will notice that like this side right here is already pre-populated. It's the same thing over here as well. So I'm going to now make this a little bigger so that we can go ahead and manipulate this. So the first thing that I always do is I see if there's anything that cancels here. There isn't. And I see if there's anything that can cancel here in my positive, and there isn't. So now what I'm going to do is move everything to the positive before I start doing the math behind it. Okay, so when I move it up, I flip it. When I move this one up, I flip it. Same thing over here. I'm going to move it up and flip it. Oh, but I do notice that these can cancel each other out. So I'm going to do that in just a second. When I move this one up, I'm going to flip it. So now we have that. I don't like when I stack them. It's just preference, right? And now I'm going to get rid of these. Okay, I'm going to move to my paper and pencil now. So I'm going to change my video to this so you guys can see it. Perfect. I'll actually make this even a little bit bigger just so that you can see my work and what I'm doing now. So once I've done that, whoops, come on, let's grab it. There we go. That way you can see both of them and my work and what's going on here on this paper. Okay, so on this screen right here, what I have left is on this side of the equation, I have x squared, and then I have 2x's plus 2x, and then I have a plus 2. Those are both positive, so plus 2. And I have my equal sign. Remember, the difference is this right here, when you have a double break with equation mats, it means that those are equal. So I have equals, and then I have an x squared plus 1x, or I'm just going to put x, and then minus 1. Okay, so now we're going to go through, when we have an equal sign, we kind of move things around in order to solve for x. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract this x squared from this side. Okay, which means whatever you do from one side, you have to do to the other. It cancels out over here. That's the point of subtracting, but it also ends up actually canceling out over here as well. So what we have now is we have 2x plus 2 is equal to x minus 1. Okay, so now I want to get my x's on one side, my numbers on the other, so I'm going to subtract the x from over here, minus the x. You could actually move them either way, it's up to you, but I like my x's on this side. So I'm going to do that next. Okay, so if I do 2x minus x, okay, I end up with an x plus 2 is equal to a negative 1. And now I'm going to subtract the 2, minus 2, to this side to get that on the other side. And I end up with x is equal to negative 1 minus 2 is a negative 3. Now we always want to go in and actually double check this answer. So that's another piece of this. I want to go in and make sure in the original if it actually makes sense. So you'll see me do this on each of them to make sure that I've solved it correctly. This is how you always check to make sure you've done it correctly. So I'm going to plug in parentheses, a negative 3 squared plus 2 times negative 3 plus 2. That should be equal to, and now I'm going to plug in my negative 3 here, so negative 3 squared minus 3, or you can do plus a negative 3, right? Plus a negative 3, and then minus 1. Okay, so let me do this really quick. I have negative 3 squared, that's negative 3 times negative 3, which is positive 9. And then I have minus 6 plus 2 on this side. On this side, I have, again, that positive 9 minus 3 minus 1. So I'm going to just do a mental check to make sure. So I have 9 minus 6, that's going to be 3, plus 2, I get 5 on this side. Over here, I have 9 minus 3, which is 6, minus 1 is also 5. So I've just checked to make sure that my answer was correct, and it is. That means I know, without having to go in and check the answer key, I know that I have done this correctly. Okay, let's do another one of these. I'm going to go ahead and exit this. These tools can be so useful when they have them here. I'm actually going to go down and I'm going to do, I think we should actually do all 3 of these. I'll use these 3 as my lesson since they have the algebra tiles. Okay, so in this one, again, I'm going to drag it off. Okay, and on this one, I'm going to do the same thing that I just did. I always see if I can cancel first. So I'm actually going to get rid of these because those 2 canceled out. Okay, over here, there's nothing that cancels. So now I do my flips. I'm going to move and flip, change the sign, move and flip. These here, I'm going to do the same thing, move and flip, and move and flip. You'll notice that these 2 cancel, so I'm going to get rid of them. Okay, and it means that I am left with, now I go to my paper and pencil, right, or pen in this case, but I'm going to be left with x plus 2 on this side and equals, again, remember, this is literally like an equal sign. And on this side, I have 2x and then plus 2. Okay, let's do a little math manipulation here. Move some stuff around. I'm going to subtract my 2x again. I tend to like mine over here, but that is totally preference. Okay, so it went away over here. I'm left with just a 2 on this side. Over here, I'm left with x minus 2x is going to be a negative x plus 2. I'm going to subtract my 2 to the other side, and I get x, negative x is equal to 0. I can divide by a negative 1. That's how you get rid of it. But when you do 0 divided by any number at all, you get 0. Again, I would make sure that this is correct in here. I have 0 plus 2 on this side if I plug it in, and I get 2. I have 2 times 0, which would be 0, plus 2 is 2. So I would get 2 equals 2, which is correct, which means that x equals 0 is indeed my answer. Okay. And the last one that we're going to do here. Okay, on this one, we have one more. On this one, again, let me drag it off. It's easier for me to manipulate it if it's off of the page. So I have a lot going on here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of these 2 because those 2 cancel out. Okay, so then I'm left with all of these ones. I'm going to move these around a little bit for me just to be able to see them better. Okay, and now I'm going to start to, because nothing cancels on the top here either, I'm going to start to move and flip, move and flip, move and flip. I could get rid of those. In fact, I'll just do that. I could have moved and flipped them and I would have just moved them from here. So now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to move and flip all these. Okay. So now what I have on this side is a negative x, okay, negative x, and then I have minus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, minus 6. On this side, I have a negative x also, And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, minus 6. Okay, you guys might notice that those are literally equal to each other. The implication of that in math, when you have two sides that are the exact same, it really means that I can plug in any number I want, and these will end up being equal. Let's plug in 1. If I plug in a 1 here, I get -1 minus 6 is equal to -1 minus 6. I could plug in 3,000 if I wanted to on both sides. We still get the same answer. So that shows you that any number that I plug in for x will work. We call that infinite solutions. Infinite solutions, meaning I can plug in any number. But let's say I didn't see that. What I could do is I could actually go through our same process that we've done. I'm going to add the x to this side. I'm going to add the x. They actually cancel out, right? And what I end up with is a -6 is equal to -6. That's what we call a true statement. When we have a true statement, it means that there are infinite solutions. There are infinite solutions. There's really only one other scenario that we could have, and it's known as no solutions. Let me show you what that would look like. It would look like if I had -x minus 6 is equal to -x, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add on here a 1. Let's just pretend like instead I had a 1 over here. Oh, and these cancel out. So guess what? What I really have now is -x minus 6 is equal to -x minus 5. When I go through the math of that, I would have plus x, this would go away, plus x, that would go away. And I would get -6 is equal to -5. We all know that that is not a true statement. That is false. -6 is not equal to -5. When we have a false statement, that's like false, it means it's going to be false for every single number. Any number that I plug in for x, if I plugged in 1 for x, I would get different numbers. If I plugged in 3,000 for x, I would get different numbers. This is a false statement, which means there are no solutions. There's not a single thing that would make this work. So we've actually seen 2 examples today where we had a number where we got only one number is going to work. One solution. -3 was the answer that fulfilled this one. In this one, 0 was the answer that would work to make this true. So that's one solution for each of those. We saw another time where any number I plugged in would work. It's a true statement. That's infinite solutions. And we saw now this one that I made up, but we saw this one where it gave you a false statement. And that means that there are no solutions that would ever make this true. So you're going to work on problems where you have equality here, and they're going to look like this. I would highly encourage you guys, just like normal, to go in on your book problems and manipulate most of it instead of having to do all the math for it, starting at, let's say, this level. I would personally go in and on my homework problems, I would go to the E tool. I would go to tiles. We also have on these now the backgrounds. And you'll notice the equation mat. And you can actually use either one. You can use the one with the equal sign if you like to see it, okay? Oh no, this doesn't have the positive and negative, so I don't want you guys to do that because you have problems that are gonna end up being with the positive and the negative values. So instead, I would like you guys to use the other one. So go to background and then the equation mat 2. And then you'll see the equal sign and you'll have the positive and negative values. This is gonna be the math that we work with. And I would drag, so then you collapse this and go to Algebra tiles so that you can grab them. I would build them here because a lot of the simplification can be done here. And then when it's all simplified, you can go to here and it's a very short process. Okay, that is all for this lesson. Good luck with your work and I hope to see you in class. If not, I will see you next Wednesday, hopefully in a Zoom.